Welcome to This Week in East Brunswick. This week, State Senator Jack Sinagra and Assemblyman Jeff Warsh invited area mayors, police, and mall managers to exchange ideas about how to help people prevent carjackings. Many have been impressed with East Brunswick's response to the problem. The Public Safety Department has presented several public seminars within the last month, including one at the library for township employees. This week, we'll have an excerpt from that program. And, also from the library, Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, author of more than 75 books, talks about her love of writing. And the East Brunswick Garden Club presents a standard home flower show and house tour. Regular features include your pet doctor and a review of the town council meeting. Also, Dolly joins local pets in a visit to Santa. But first, here's a quick look at programming next week on Channel 8. On Monday morning, Step and Tone with Lunar Eclipse on Look Great, Feel Great. That's at 10 o'clock. At 10:30, it's Stories About the Lost and Found on Stories from the Library. At 11:30, Detective Sean Coleman of the East Brunswick Police Department presents information about how to prevent carjacking. Tuesday night's lineup includes a half-hour special on the proposed Family Aquatic Center for East Brunswick at 7 o'clock. You and Your Money at 7:30, and Exercise the Right Choice at 8 o'clock. This month, Spotlight on Education focuses on extracurricular activities. That's Wednesday night at 7:30. At 8 o'clock, Laura Ivan visits Bishop R. High School for a seminar on steroids by Dr. Blaise Toto. This Week in East Brunswick returns at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock Thursday night. And at 7:30, it's Let's Talk Health with Steve Sackman. Check the Channel 8 Community Bulletin Board for additional programming information. All levels of government throughout the state have responded to the recent abduction and murder of Piscataway resident Gail Scholar. In an effort to generate ideas for effectively preventing carjackings and for helping to restore some sense of security to worried residents, State Senator Jack Sinagra, Assemblyman Jeff Warsh, and Assemblywoman Harriet Durman organized a meeting at the East Brunswick Library on Wednesday. Attending were several area chiefs of police, several mayors, and the general managers of the Brunswick Square and Menlo Park malls. Assemblyman Jeff Warsh talked about the need to alleviate the fear people are feeling.
Just a general impression. I just spent a lot of time, unfortunately, driving around in my car listening to the radio, and there's just these constant public awareness, public service spots. They're telling people how to protect themselves. I mean, you can't go anywhere, whether it's TV or the radio now, without these like Fort Apache kind of warnings, which I consider to be very disturbing, and I consider it to be our role to bring back the kind of comfort level and security level that people have. This isn't the inner city, folks, as we all know. This is the suburbs, and it's now in the suburbs, this serious crime problem, as Jack said, whether it's reality or whether it's perception, it's something that we all have to deal with, and I think that today is going to be an important step towards establishing that kind of hidden infrastructure so that people can just go about their lives again and live them as normal suburbanites.
One of the things we can do as legislators, as you're I'm sure aware of, there are numerous bills that deal with carjacking. There are numerous bills as it pertains to juveniles and car theft and joyriding. We recently passed, and I guess the Governor has not signed, stalking as a crime. Yes, that is now a law, that if someone would be stalked in a shopping center or felt threatened by somebody, just for the mere following of a person, you can, I assume, arrest the person as a criminal act, which historically was not possible. So that's the kind of thing that, as far as we can do in Trenton, and if there's any suggestions you would have to beef up or further help, we'd be glad to introduce that legislation and see if it gets passed.
Action in East Brunswick, according to Director of Public Safety John Cross, has included extra patrols in shopping areas and plans to install video cameras in the municipal parking lot. In addition, the Public Safety Department has sponsored 3 seminars for the public on prevention and 2 for municipal employees. Detective Sean Coleman discouraged residents from considering the purchase of a gun and explained the benefits and drawbacks of several different kinds of mace.
And there are a couple things on the market, and most of the questions we've gotten have been about mace. Mace is a generic term. It's like me saying a car or automobile, because mace can be a whole host of things. Currently, they're marketing several, because normally when we do the public presentations at the high school, people come up at the end and they have their little containers and they want to know what they have, because no one is telling them what they have, what it'll do. They're just selling it to them, and that people really have no idea how it quite works or what it's going to do. So basically, there's 3 types of mace, and if you're over 18 years of age, if you've never been convicted of a felony, you can carry 1 less than 3/4 of an ounce or less container of a chemical irritant, and that includes mace, pepper mace, CN, and CS. So there's really 3 types. CN, it'll say right on the container, is just it's easier to say CN than it is to say chloroacetophenone, so they put CN on it. And that's a regular tear gas. It works, but some people have a tolerance to it. People like heavy smokers, people who have been around it in the military can have a tolerance to it, and it may not work quick enough. There's another substance called CS, and again, rather than saying orthochlorobenzylmalonitrile, they just say CS, which is a whole lot easier. And that's a chemical irritant that's about 10 times stronger than the CS. However, the CS is also a permanent irritating agent. If, for example, your son, your daughter decided to take it out of your purse and spray write their name on the carpet, you may not be able to use your house again. It is that insidious of a chemical. It doesn't go away. You can't decontaminate it with the CN, the tear gas. You can heat a house up to a high temperature, and the high temperature will dissipate it. CS is very persistent. That won't happen. So there's a drawback to that. And pepper mace is the stuff people are kind of projecting as the best thing since sliced bread or perhaps bottled beer. And the thing with pepper mace is, if you can imagine, what they've done is they've taken oleoresin capsicum. Basically, they've taken the wax and resins and oils from hot peppers, and they've put it into this container under pressure. So if you spray someone in the face with this, if you could imagine going to Chi-Chi's and taking a jalapeno pepper and kind of like gouging it into your eye, that's kind of the effect that you would have. It would immediately close your eyes down. It would be very painful. You'd probably go like this, and hopefully you'd be able to cry, and maybe 20 minutes later you could open your eyes again. That's basically what pepper spray is going to do. However, you have to use pepper spray. It has to hit them in the face. It has to hit their eye in order for it to close down.
Detective Coleman's seminar may be seen in its entirety Monday morning, December 14th at 11:30, Wednesday night, December 16th at 8:30, and Saturday afternoon, December 19th at 1.
Author Phyllis Reynolds Naylor spoke at a program at the East Brunswick Library this past Tuesday. Mrs. Naylor has had more than 75 books published for children and adults and was the 1992 winner of the John Newbery Medal.
I loved reading, but I was never what you would call a bookish child. I was never someone who always went around with my nose stuck in a book. Usually I was outside playing, making a lot of noise. I was known as the neighborhood loudmouth. But I loved stories as far back as I can remember, because my mother and sometimes my father read aloud to us every night until we were almost 15 years old, though we never would have admitted this to anyone. They read the Bible storybook many times over, The Wind in the Willows, Alice in Wonderland, Grimm's Fairy Tales, and all of Mark Twain's books. My writing career really began in kindergarten, though, because there was a wonderful teacher who used to sit down in the middle of the floor each afternoon and say, "Who wants to make up a story? Come and tell it to me. I'll write it down for you, and you can take it home to show your parents." I don't remember any of those stories that I made up, but I do remember the teacher saying, "Phyllis, you've had enough turns for one day. Let someone else have a chance." But the very first story that I made up when I was 4 years old, I started kindergarten when I was 4, that the teacher wrote down for me and that I brought home, my mother saved all these years. And I thought you would like to hear it. This is the very first story I ever made up. Once upon a time, there was a little boy and a little girl who lived in the woods with their mother. One day, the little boy said, "Mother, I want an apple." The mother said, "Okay." The boy reached into the box, and the mother closed the lid on him and cut off his head and set him out in the yard and tied a rag around his neck to keep his head on. The little girl came home. She cried a lot. She sneaked out and pasted his head back on with magic paste. Then she put her brother in her boyfriend's house. She grew up and married her boyfriend, and the mother died, and that's the end. Well, years later, I discovered that this story sounds suspiciously like The Juniper Tree by the Brothers Grimm. So not only was my first effort gory, but it was plagiarism at that.
Mrs. Naylor's book Shiloh was awarded the John Newbery Medal for 1992. Her other books include The Bodies at the Besseldorf Hotel, The Agony of Alice, and Beetle Lightly Toasted.
Hi, welcome back once again to Your Pet Doctor. I'm Dolly Vasta, and my co-host is...
I'm Dr. Brian Johnson from the Cranberry Veterinary Hospital in East Brunswick.
And with Christmas just upon us, we thought that maybe we might talk a little bit today about Christmas preparation for the pets.
Very important subject. With the holidays coming on, special needs. Some things people may not realize. If you're having parties and a lot of activity in the house, after a while, the pet will get overly excited, whether it's a cat or a dog. Give them space. Give them a place where they can get away from the hustle bustle, lay down and get away, or they'll get cranky. And unlike us, when we yell and holler, they bite. So it's a good idea to give them some space to give them a place where they can relax.
In other words, if you're having a lot of children in the house, because I've seen this happen.
Particularly children.
You really have to let them go somewhere up in the yard or whatever it is just to get away from the kids.
Especially if they have not been raised with children. Introduce the dog or cat, let them say hello, and then let the dog or cat get some peace and quiet. Other things we have to be careful. Probably one of the biggest problems is with all the lights and the pretty trees and everything is the electrical cord.
Yeah.
Lots of dogs and cats, the wire hanging down. Not only is it something new, is it not something pretty and blinking, but it swings. So the cats and dogs are going to jump up and bite it, and we'll get 1 to 3 pets that have an electrical bite every year. It affects them badly and it can kill them. So very important.
Also, I think too, I remember we used to tie our tree up to the ceiling.
Yeah, you must support it. If you have more than, well, if you have any cats in the house, they usually climb the tree, and dogs will sometimes jump up. So by all means, take some wire, take some type of support, and support the tree so that it won't fall over.
One of the other things I thought about too while you were talking are the old-fashioned ornaments that break very easily.
Yeah, they're glass. The cats will bat them.
Yeah.
They'll
Keep
break
them
them
high up on the tree.
high up, and watch out for tinsel. If you use the new tinsel, I mean, I don't remember the old leaded crystal. That was in your days. But the newer tinsel...
You look funny doing this upside down, you know, the show.
The newer tinsel is actually long sheets of plastic. And if a cat eats it, it will form a string foreign body. And just like a wire cutting through cheese, it will cut through their intestines. So you've got to be very, very careful. If you have cats and dogs, I don't recommend the use of tinsel.
Also food.
Food, another big problem. Chocolate is poisonous to the dog. They love it. You've got to be careful. Other things such as poinsettias, mistletoe, a few berries, if a cat eats them, can be poisonous. So we have to prepare the house. If you have these things, make sure the animals cannot get to them. If you go to bed at night, don't put, like I did 2 years ago, a coffee table with a big container of chocolates. My Doberman went right through them. I paid for it the next day with quite a mess. So,
yes, I can imagine. You know, my daughter had, and we were talking about this before real quickly too, under the tree, things that are wrapped up for the animals, they can smell.
oh yeah, if you wrap up any catnip or someone gives you a nice fruit cake, by the morning you won't have a fruit cake. The dog will go right through it. If you have presents there that smell, remember, the dog and cat has much better smell than you do. Don't leave your presents open. You're asking for them to either sleep on it or do much worse, because it's nice and soft and the litter pan is far away. They just as soon use your new towel or sweater.
How nice.
A practical application now will save you many aggravations later.
In fact, I have a feeling that this comes from personal experience.
It very
on your
much
part.
comes from personal experience.
All right, we'll remember all those things. So all of you out there, remember, it's a great holiday to celebrate, but keep it safe for your animals as well as for your children. We'll see you all next week. Take care.
At Monday night's Township Council agenda meeting, the East Brunswick boys soccer team was honored for winning the Greater Middlesex Conference Tournament Championship.
Whereas the East Brunswick High School boys soccer team won the Greater Middlesex Conference Tournament Championship, again bringing honor upon each of the members, East Brunswick High School, and the community at large. And whereas the East Brunswick High School boys soccer team ended the season with an impressive 17-4-1 record. Now therefore be it resolved by the East Brunswick Township Council and Mayor Ira Oskowski on behalf of a proud community that it hereby honors the East Brunswick High School boys soccer team consisting of Eric Albrecht, David Barrett, Mitchell Brown, Mattia Laffolino, Joseph Corderso, Richard DeGuzman, John Dickinson, Jared Forma, Jamie Foreman, Brian Ho, Brandon Hoffman, Alyssa Lesnick, Joseph Merkel, Brooke Siegelman, Greg Slater, Justin Smutko, Michael Toth, David Eunice, Ilya Zafirowski, and head coach Dan Haston, and assistant coach Tom Hackenjus. And the mayor and council hereby congratulate each of the foregoing for their individual and team contributions to an outstanding and memorable year for boys soccer at East Brunswick High School. Thank you very much.
Also honored for her outstanding achievements in gymnastics was East Brunswick High School student Jackie Haft.
Whereas Jackie Haft has won the NJSIAA State Championship in vaulting, the Greater Middlesex Conference Championship in vaulting, and Central Jersey all-around champion. And whereas Jackie Haft has brought honor and respect to herself, Coach Lisa Scarano, East Brunswick High School, and the community at large. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the East Brunswick Township Council and Mayor Ira Oskowski, on behalf of a proud community, hereby congratulate Jackie Haft for her individual contribution to an outstanding and memorial year for girls gymnastics at East Brunswick High School.
In other council news, Cable Liaison Adrian Eisner and Cable Television Advisory Committee Chairman Stan Fisher made recommendations to the council on how to approach store cable rate hikes for 1993.
The committee feels very strongly that the increase is excessive and the channel additions insufficient. At a meeting with Sam Magliaro, General Manager of Store Cable in July of this year, the committee and I emphatically stated our position that there should not be a rate increase in 1993 in light of the fact that we have had significant increases annually since deregulation in 1984. And we also discussed the additional channels that were requested, such as AMC, Family Channel, the Comedy Channel, Court Channel, Sci-Fi, and others.
Accordingly, we recommended reviewing our franchise agreement and the federal legislation as it now stands to determine if there is a possible violation of either, enabling a restraining order or order to be entered or other legal action to be taken. We recommended corresponding with the State Office of Cable Television regarding the federal legislation with the intent of filing an objection to this increase with the appropriate authorities. We recommended informing the Federal Communication Commission of Storer's actions so that they could be certain that those rules and regulations they are now drafting will prevent these increases. And we recommended corresponding with our state legislators, requesting that they investigate these increases and determine what, if anything, can be done at the state level.
The Cable Television Advisory Committee made several other recommendations to the council on how residents can protest the rate hike. Dropping extra services, such as extra TV hookups, remote control devices, and not ordering pay-per-view were some of the specific suggestions Fisher mentioned. Store Cable Communications General Manager Sam Magliaro will attend the December 14th Township Council meeting for his annual presentation. In other council news, Township Finance Director Lou Neely requested that the council and the Township's Water Policy Advisory Committee consider an increase in the water rates that cover a shortfall in water revenues for 1992. Neely stated that due to an extremely wet summer this year, that water demand and usage caused shortage of a little over $600,000 in anticipated revenues. If the council approves the 5% proposed rate hike, the average annual residential water bill would increase by about $14. The Water Policy Advisory Committee is expected to present their recommendations to the council at next Monday's meeting.
On Saturday, the East Brunswick Garden Club presented a standard home flower show and house tour. The show, held at Warnsdorfer School, was judged by National Council Flower Show judges from the Garden Club of New Jersey. Educational exhibits included a display by the Junior Division and one entitled The Carol of the Birds. The commercial exhibit featured a display of owls. And the Horticultural Division included succulents and cacti, ferns, African violets, and hanging plants. 5 homes in the Warnsdorfer School area were open for tours and were decorated with table settings and holiday displays.
Hi, this is Dolly Vaster for This Week in East Brunswick. And yes, it's that time of year again. It's Santa Claus time. And we're at our local Santa Claus, only this is a slightly unusual Santa Claus because this is a Santa Claus for animals. We're at the Pet Giant on Route 18. And it's kind of fun. I was here last year, and I had such a good time with my dog that I decided to come back with the cameras this year. I want to talk to Santa, though. I have a question I have to ask him. How many secrets do you know from your friends here?
Not too many. It's pretty tough, though. What do you get? But they're all good.
Gwen, it is absolutely a madhouse here. I laughed so hard before because when we were all sitting with Santa Claus and everyone was bringing their dogs in, it was as if the dogs were their children, and they were pushing the dogs in front so that everyone would be in the shot.
Definitely our customers do spoil their pets more than they do their children sometimes.
Well, that's what makes for good business, though. You have to admit that.
It's one of the places they enjoy bringing their pets because they're allowed in here and the pets pick out their own toys and food and they get to show off their pets to everybody else.
Oh yeah, there's a certain camaraderie between people who have pets, and you chat as you walk up and down the aisles looking for goodies.
We're able to assist the customers better that way. You can come in and try on your collars and pick out your sweaters all without having to guess on anything. So,
well, listen, tell me though a little bit about this Santa Claus business. When did it start?
Well, last year was our first year at the East Brunswick location, and we only did it for 2 weekends, but being as successful as it was, we expanded to every weekend until Christmas for 4 weekends. And last weekend alone, we had 350 pets. We're on our probably 200th picture already today, and it's been wonderful. Our North Plainfield store also has Santa Claus every weekend.
So let's see, this is what, the second weekend before Christmas, so there's 2 more weekends to go, right? And you're here Saturday and Sunday, and what are the hours?
We're 10 to 4 Saturday and Sunday through Christmas.
Do you ever get tired of looking at dogs and cats?
No, I love it. People love their pets and they're all friendly. We have no problems in the store and it's really enjoyable part of the job.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Well, we're going to have to do this one fast. I have never seen a ferret visit Santa Claus, but we did catch a ferret. And here he is. What's the ferret's name?
Max.
Max the ferret. That's good, that's good. And what about this beautiful creature's name?
Dink.
Yeah, Dink's a Shar-Pei, right?
Yeah. She just turned 6 months.
6 months. God, 6 months, and I won't tell you how old I am, but she does have more wrinkles than I have. Which is nice. Well, I'll let you go because they seem to be giving us both a hard time. But Merry Christmas, Dink. And to you too, Max.